Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. It's not really breaking news anymore. I mean, it's been out there. Is Chris Klieman, Kansas State University head football coach, has decided to step down / retire, whatever you want to call it. And the new head coach at Kansas State is going to be its own Colin Klein, former Kansas State star quarterback, former offensive coordinator, now the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. So seems to be a smooth transition. I gotta believe that some of these recruits knew that this was happening, going to be in place, but I don't know. We'll see exactly what the situation was with all that. I'm sure there'll be some updates here or there, but today is a day, I mean, in the crazy world of college football, man, this is something that, I'll be honest, as a former Kansas State football player and a guy that supports the program, this is a good day, and it's not necessarily a good day, or I'm not saying because we're a coach is retiring or didn't want to coach there. I think it's a good day because you could see the strain on Chris Klieman's face. You could see, I mean, if you go back to last year after the bowl game where Kansas State had just won, they won 9 games on the season. And in the interview, he's talking about fans being upset because it was a disappointment that you won 9 games. And I think he blew that way out of proportion because fans thought that the team was better than that. But his thing was, well, if you're going to be mad at 9 wins, then I need to get out of the business. I'm paraphrasing, but he said that. And at the time, you thought, oh, he's just a little bitter, just trying to stick it in fans' face a little bit after winning 9 games. But it turns out he probably meant it. And then you saw what happened after the Utah game. You saw the raw emotion of him breaking down and frustrated, and it just seemed to be taking a toll on the man. And it's not necessarily a toll that needs to be taken. I've said it many, many times about these college football coaches or just coaches in general. The landscape of coaching has changed, and you are paid handsomely to coach in whatever that, and we're just talking about college athletics at the highest level. So college football, college basketball, those guys are paid a ton of money. And my thing is, if it changes, okay, things are allowed to change. And if it's not what you signed up for, I totally get it. But don't just complain about it. Quit. If it's not something that you like and you constantly talk bad about it. And my example is, the guy that gets hired on at the post office and he has a mail route and, he works whatever that is from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., whatever. And and he does that for 10 years. And then all of a sudden the post office comes to him or her and says, you know what? Sorry, we're going to change you. You're going to be sorting mail and you have to do it from 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. Everything about what you've done over the last 10 years at the job that you were hired for, it's completely different. Your hours are different. Well, you can either constantly complain or you could go do something different. And it's no different. At the end of the day, I get it that they're coaching football or coaching basketball, but it's still a job. And if the job is different and you don't want to be in it, nobody should or would begrudge you if you said, you know what, this is just not the job that it was when I started. I want out. I don't want to do it anymore. Normal human beings aren't going to be upset with you for that. You're going to get the crazos, but you're going to get that no matter what. So, yeah. And that's what I think Coach Klieman just got to a point to where he's just like, you know what, I'm a football coach. And there are so many other things that he has to do that aren't required or aren't part of coaching football that it got in the way of him coaching football. And I agree. It's not what it was 10 years ago. Hell, it's not what it was 5 years ago. You'd be hard-pressed to really say if we're really digging in, it's not the same as it was 3 years ago. And that's crazy to say because most head coaches get a contract that lasts longer than 3 years. You're telling me before my first contract is up that my job is going to drastically change? That's wild, but that's how it works. If you are a first-time head coach, that your job would be so much different before your first contract is up. And that's kind of what we're looking at with college athletics these days. And I just think Coach Klieman just got to a point to where he just said, I'm a football coach. There's too many other things that are involved and get in the way that I don't like, and it's time for me to do something different. And whether that he stays retired, I'm sure he's made enough money, or you know what, I'm really a football coach, I'll drop down a level or two and do that. Whatever coach wants to do, more power to him. I think I think that's part of what's going on because he didn't seem like a guy that wanted to slow down. It seemed like the job was making him a different, maybe even a different person or a different coach than what he wanted to be. And he couldn't stay true to what he actually wanted to do based on how things or the landscape is. I get it. Moving forward, Colin Klein being a head coach. Look, first-time head coach, going to be a ton of pressure coming back to your alma mater. That's a lot of pressure of just, you're always going to have a section of us crazy fans. And you notice I said us because I'm a crazy fan too. You're always going to get a section that are just crazy, no matter what you do. And I always describe it. You're going to get the people that complain. You could give them $1 million and half of those people would be mad that you gave it to them in cash and you didn't just deposit it in their bank account. You would get those comments. Same thing here. A lot of people are going to be complaining. He's never been a head coach and he's too young and he's going to hear all of that. And if he doesn't win every single game, there's pressure. Well, that's part of the gig, though. And that's why they pay you. They pay you big bucks. You got to be able to handle all of that. And it's tougher when you're coming from alma mater where you were a star player, you were a coach, the fans have been clamoring for you. Well, now they get their reality, and if every single thing doesn't go to plan, then the pitchforks come out. Well, okay, but it may take a little bit. But I think it's a great transition because so many people that follow the Kansas State program have been screaming for some fresh blood, some fresh ideas to kind of modernize a couple of different things and get some different coaches in there, which I think was probably going to happen on this staff anyway. Well, now it's going to happen. Well, now you get that. And it's a breath of fresh air, but the air before wasn't bad. And that's what I want to have come across is because a lot of times when you say, oh, man, it's a breath of fresh air, it's like Kansas State or any place, there was bad air there before. Chris Klieman wasn't doing a bad job. He wasn't. I mean, this was a down season for Kansas State. But let's make no mistake. He wasn't doing a bad job. Now, did he make a couple of questionable hires that needed to be rectified? Yes. And I think everybody knows that, including himself. But he wasn't doing a bad job. And for people to think that he was doing a bad job, you're crazy. Down year, of course. Bad job? No, absolutely not. And one of the things that I think that's important, especially for a program like Kansas State, is that what Chris Klieman did was prove that you could win without Bill Snyder being the head coach. Is that you could win a conference championship and be at a conference championship level without Bill Snyder. Now, there's going to be some Bill Snyder fans that are, oh, you're bad. Nobody's talking bad. He was my coach. Nobody's talking bad about Bill Snyder. What I'm saying is Kansas State football is Bill Snyder. You don't think of Kansas State without thinking of that man, and you shouldn't. But Bill Snyder hasn't coached there for a while. At some point, somebody else has to take the reign. Like, they're not shutting the program down. Somebody else had to prove that you could win. Chris Klieman did that. He followed a legend and proved that you can still win at Kansas State if your name isn't Bill Snyder. And I thought that was important to do. And he did that. So he's to be commended. But moving forward, Colin Klein, we'll see. We'll see. A lot of people nowadays, they talk about, coaching jobs and that it's a young person's job. And okay, fine. I think it's a good thing for Kansas State. I think the transition will be smoother than what people maybe realize. He clearly loves Kansas State, and it takes a special person to come to Kansas State and want to be the coach at Kansas State. Look, it's out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Kansas. It's a long way to a metropolitan city or a city in general where there's a lot of people. I mean, and it's a tough place to recruit to. It just is. But it's got a program built. And you can get people to come out there, man. It's a great place. I'm really interested to see who the staff is. I'm interested to see who stays as far as football players, because the transfer portal is a big thing. Here's the only thing I'd say about that. If you're a skill position offensive player and Colin Klein just became your head coach, after seeing what he's done for the Texas A&M offense over the last couple of seasons, are you ready to just run right out of there? Are you saying, no, I don't want any part of this? Or, because if that's what your plans were before Colin Klein was named the head coach, are your plans now, well, okay, well, wait a minute. I was running out to go find something. Well, all of a sudden, that something that I was looking for is coming to me. I don't necessarily have to go. I just think people should, and I know they're kids and they got all these different forces and people pulling at them 100 different ways. Sometimes you just got to say, what I was going to look for is actually coming here. Something to keep in mind. So I think the change is good. Whether it was needed or not, we don't even really need to get into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter if the change was needed. It's happening. And I think Colin Klein is the perfect coach for the Kansas State Wildcats to take over and to take them to the next level if they can get to the next level. So appreciate you guys, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Just wanted to bring you guys that, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.